welcome to this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Now, this is a unique podcast that drops almost every week. We are also the co-host of the Rick and Bubba Show. That's a full-blown, it's talking about, it's when we're let out of the cage, and it is 5 hours of radio extravaganza. You can hear us all over the country by going to Rick and Bubba, spell out the word and.com. If this is your first step into Rick and Bubba world through this podcast. And Bubba, today it is Rick and Bubba behind the music.
Rick, we have one of the most talented guests we've ever had at Rick and Bubba University, an old friend, the pride of Geraldine, Alabama. You name it, he's played it, Damon Johnson.
Damon Johnson, welcome to Rick and Bubba University.
Fellas, what a stupendous introduction, man. I don't think that's ever been topped, so thank you very much.
I don't even know what to say to you other than I have an axe I will play.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you have
axe will travel.
I have axe will travel.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done original bands, some really, really good ones. You play acoustic shows. You've got the Damon Johnson world. You have been a hired gun for some of the biggest names
ever in music.
I mean, Van Halen, Aerosmith, Robert Plant, Steven Tyler, Sammy Hagar, Alice Cooper, Thin Lizzy, Black Star Riders.
Sounds like we're talking about the Hall of Fame, but no, we're talking about Damon Johnson.
and now you've been hired, by Skynyrd. Now, when you had the run with Damn Yankees, did that never happen? You guys were rehearsing, but didn't something fall apart that your run with them somehow was stopped?
Well, the Damn Yankees was a moment, like 15 minutes, Rick.
Yeah.
I stepped in to basically take Tommy Shaw's place because Tommy had just acquired the rights to the name Styx.
Oh, boy.
Dennis DeYoung was out of the band, so he needed to press the gas on that. Their A&R man was the famous John Kolodner.
Oh, yeah.
And Kolodner he was a fan of my music. I had sent him some songs randomly. He called me the next week and he had Jack Blades in his office. And they said, hey man, would you come out and jam with us for this Damn Yankees record? And what started as us just maybe co-writing a couple songs turned into them asking me to join the band. And it lasted about 3 months. We made most of a record. And, it needed some more material. And then we just ran out of time. Before you knew it, Jack had to get back on the road with Night Ranger. Nugent had dates. Michael Cartellone had to go back to Lynyrd Skynyrd, ironically. Some foreshadowing there.
Oh, yes.
So, it was just one of those things. But, guys, when you read off those names on that resume, that kid from Geraldine, Alabama, I still can't believe it sometimes, just being obsessed with music at a young age, 13, 14 is when I started playing guitar and put my first garage band together. I mean, I had every album by all of those bands. And if you'd have said to me, if some wizard had it dropped out of the clouds and said, my son, one day you're going to play with Alice Cooper, you're going to be in Thin Lizzy, you're going to perform some shows with Lynyrd Skynyrd. It's not even, it just doesn't happen.
It's still surreal to you now when you get that call to come and be in Lynyrd Skynyrd or to be in this project or that. So it's still, even now, it's still surreal to you.
You know what? Honestly, Bubba, it is. I mean, it's always exciting. And I guess the thing that's different now at this point in my career is that it totally makes sense. It's like for Ricky Medlocke and Johnny Van Zant to be thinking, hey, we need somebody to come and step in for Gary Rossington. Who do we know? I know that for Ricky Medlocke, I'm going to be one of 3 names that he's going to call first because we've known each other forever and I've been doing this forever. I'm as experienced and skilled at what I do as you two guys are at what you do.
Look, don't cut yourself down like that, Damon. Come on.
Take the standard up a little.
Yeah,
Take the standard up.
We don't want you beating yourself up here on this podcast.
Right. But
You're right. Bad analogy.
Right.
How about I compare it to Dale Earnhardt?
There you
There
go.
you go.
Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah.
Number,
All
get
right.
your threes.
That's
up.
a much higher standard.
Get your threes up.
That's right.
But this is
That's
this is the thing that I can't get out of my mind, and you just touched on it. And we think about this. You know, we grew up as little boys. You know, I did for sure, and you did too, Bubba, wanting to be on the radio. I mean, I thought about it. Of course, I also, wanted to be in it. There was three things I was interested in, and that's it. I was not well-rounded. I was interested in football, being in a rock band, and being on the radio. Nothing else. And really nothing, I dabbled in all of it. And of course, the radio thing, by the grace of God, has been something I've been able to live out. And I think about it on some of those days I don't want to get up.
You're welcome, Rick.
But thank you, Bubba. But the things that, I mean, if you had been in one of my early bands, I might have made that. But anyway, so, Damon and I were out there hitting the circuit, and I was like, Damon, look over here. Look over here. Just throw me a rope. But anyway, but I keep going back to the little boy and Geraldine, because Ricky Medlock, I know he had a history with Lynyrd Skynyrd, but I didn't know about it as a kid. He was Blackfoot. He was trained.
Right.
He was trained.
Yes.
He was Highway Song. Okay.
Yes.
And so to know that I remember when Q104, the first station Bubba and I ever worked for, announced that at Murphy Stadium in Gadsden, Alabama, that Blackfoot. You remember this?
Of course.
I remember the promo. I remember the promo.
Yeah, I think they were with Louisiana's LaRue.
Yeah.
And I forget who the other band was. Oh, it was Mother's Finest. It was
That's right.
Blackfoot, Mother's Finest, and Louisiana's LaRue, or whatever it was
New
called.
Orleans ladies.
And I remember, on that day, if somebody had walked in and said, "Oh, by the way, Ricky Medlock's going to have your cell phone," I mean, you'd have been like, "What? What?"
Because Damon, you're the same age we are, right? You're a '64 guy, right?
Yep. 1964. That was a good year. And
how about all of us were
man.
born that year? Is that not funny?
Oh, it is.
Y'all?
Well, you know what's crazy, guys? I remember that concert. I didn't get to go because I was just, my parents hadn't quite opened that door yet for me to be going.
Yeah.
But I did see Blackfoot open for Molly Hatchet.
Let's go.
At Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham I guess that was 1980.
Yeah.
So, it's just, again, fellas, it's really indescribable. You'll appreciate this story because my friends and family have been asking in recent weeks. They're like, "Well, how did you know? How did you get that call about Lynyrd Skynyrd?" I had just gone for a walk with my wife. I came back to the house, got a text from Ricky Medlock. It said, "Call me right now."
See, that's what I'm talking about. Murphy Stadium, the Boutwell Auditorium. Somebody said, "By the way, see the guy out there, right the train? He's going to be called. He's going to text." We wouldn't even know what a text was. He's going to do what?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He said, "Call me right now." So I called him. I said, "Hey man, what's up?" He said, "Damon, hang on a minute. I'm gonna get Van Zant on the phone, and we're gonna do a 3-way call." Well, in my mind, right then, fellas, I knew something was up. Like, that's all I needed to know. Like, all right, I'm about to be on the phone with Ricky Medlock and Johnny Van Zant at the same time. Something is happening.
Yeah. Something is going down.
Yeah.
And then you're playing. Because we all grew up in Alabama, you have to understand. Skynyrd was something you would think. Well, Skynyrd. I can't imagine you walking out there.
They were like the official band of our national anthem.
That's right.
Growing up.
Did you even? did you? I know you have to rehearse, but this is a tour already underway. And those of you that don't know, Gary Rosington had to deal into the COVID protocol. And is he doing okay?
Yeah. Let me clarify that, guys.
Yeah.
Gary Rosington had a heart procedure.
Okay.
He basically had a heart attack and had to go in for heart surgery. And then, the band had all these tour dates booked. And after being off the road for a year and a half, having 40 people on the payroll, Gary gave everybody their blessing to go ahead and play these shows.
Okay. Right.
So the fans could see the band.
And it takes a little time to recover from that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. So we rehearsed. I did 2 shows, and then Ricky Medlock got COVID.
Okay.
Ricky got COVID, and then we had to cancel 5 or 6 shows while he recovered. Ricky's doing fantastic.
Okay.
And everything is back. So, Gary's recovering and getting healthier and stronger. And he's hopefully, man, he's going to be back any day now.
Oh, that's a good clarification.
Are you going to be like the fifth man or the sixth guy off the bench for whoever's got COVID when they rotate out?
Kind of. Bubba, you'll love this. My dad had a great description. He said, "Son, Skynyrd is like the Braves in the World Series. The second baseman went down, so they had to go down to the minor leagues and call up one of their star players that's been in the gym. He's got good numbers. He's got good stats that can step in and play second base so we can win the World Series."
Hold the line.
I'm backing that. That's a good.
That's right.
That's a great position to be in.
So you're filling in for Rosington while he recovers from his heart procedure. Medlock calls some of the shows to be canceled because he tested positive, but now he's fine. So your gig won't end until Gary thinks he can come back and play.
Yeah, and I've been communicating with Gary. Man, Gary's a hero of mine, no question about it. He remembers Brother Kane supporting Skynyrd back in the early 90s. We did about 20-something shows with them. So, he had some awareness of who I was. And, man, he's so gracious. And he's like, "Man, thank you for filling in for me. And I'm feeling better. And I want to come back as soon as I can." But, he needs to do what's best for him and his family, certainly for his health. And, it's not a perfect scenario. It's a very unique situation. And I'm just committed to being respectful in every capacity and, man, playing those songs as note for note the way Gary does. And, the music deserves that. The fans deserve that. And it's just been incredible, fellas.
Yeah,
it's been incredible.
And if you know the history of Skynyrd, what you do, and Greg and I were talking about this before, I'm talking about back to the original lineup before the plane crash, all that. They were sticklers that if you came to hear them in concert, the guitar runs would be played exactly the way they were played when you heard them on the albums that you had
on the record.
And so when you step into that role, they already had a commitment. No matter who's in the band, we're going to play it the way that the fans expect it to be played. So there's no Damon doing his own thing and let me try a little something here. There's a commitment that if you come to hear this catalog, it's going to be played the way you remember it.
That's well said, Rick. Skynyrd was very much like the Beatles in that way. They spent a lot of time in rehearsal working out the parts and when to play, when to lay out, background vocals, double guitar solos, all kinds of stuff, man. And to your point, yes, every performance they've ever done, they've replicated that. So as a fan myself, I knew that that's what they were going to want me to do. That's what I like to hear when I go see Skynyrd. It was the same in Thin Lizzy. When I joined Thin Lizzy, Scott Gorham said, he goes, "Hey, man, you don't have to play it note for note. I want you to just be Damon Johnson." And I said, "Scott, respectfully, I'm going to learn those solos like Brian Robertson played them and like Gary Moore played them, because that's what I want to hear if I go see Thin Lizzy." So that really was a great kind of, setup for me to have an opportunity like this now with Skynyrd.
We'll come back, Damon Johnson. There's so much to unpack. We don't have
so many questions.
We don't have a podcast big enough, but we'll try. When Rick and Bubba University, the podcast continues. All right, so we talk about all these things that we learned growing up, and one of the things that let's just be honest, when we were growing up, we heard when we got old enough to get car insurance, or when we got old enough to get married, or maybe get our own place, we didn't know about getting homeowners insurance and car insurance. What we normally did, we just went to the same company that mom and daddy used, and we were probably handed off to mom and daddy's agent's son, and then you just keep on going. And that's fine if it's working well, but I want to introduce something to the audience called GABI, G-A-B-I. It stands for Get a Better Insurance. This doesn't cost you anything, but it is worth your while. Trust me, it's worth it. We found out the savings that are coming in right now by just simply using this service, and here's how it works. It doesn't cost you anything. You go to gabi.com/Rick Bubba. It's totally free, gabi.com/Rick Bubba. Now, enter a little bit of information about your automobile and your homeowner's insurance. Then Gabi will pull up 40 other insurance companies, and all the big names are represented there. You'll see Progressive, and you'll see all the ones that you're familiar with, Nationwide, Travelers. They're all there, and then you get a true side-by-side comparison of what they would charge you for the exact same coverage. the folks that are regulars on Rick and Bubba University, the podcast, are saving an average of $80 a month by doing this. They were overpaying for the same coverage by as much as $80 a month, and some people are saving even more. So go to gabi.com/Rick Bubba right now. That's gabi.com/Rick Bubba. Damon Johnson, the guest on this edition of Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. So we've kind of covered the Skynyrd gig. You're doing that right now, but you're also, as you have been known to do, always working on your own projects. Now, we have been with you through some fantastic. Now I go all the way back to Witness, but we don't have time for that today. Okay, that's back in the clubs. That's when we were all playing and out there. By the way, I thought that was a fantastic band, and
it was a great band.
Yeah. So and then you were with Split the Dark, with Mark Phillips, who unfortunately the pandemic has taken his life. But you played for a stint in Split the Dark. And then from there, the next thing, I know there's more, I don't have time for all of it, but the next thing we remember from there is Brother Kane, which that was an incredibly successful project. You guys were at the top of the rock charts, had outstanding success. Take the audience through the part of your history of Brother Kane.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, there's no question that Brother Kane was the event that changed my life. If it weren't for Brother Kane, none of this other stuff that has come afterwards would have ever happened. Yes, Brother Kane was me and three of my buddies from Birmingham. We got signed to Virgin Records. We recorded our album in 92. And in the summer of 93, our first single was a song called Got No Shame that you guys know very well.
We use it as theme music for Evil Dictators.
We do.
Love you, love that. Got No Shame was the #1 rock track in the country that summer for a week. And we were on tour with Lynyrd Skynyrd. Shortly after that, we went out with Robert Plant. We went out with Aerosmith. We did 2 more records. Each of those records yielded another #1 hit at radio, more touring. And, I just really started to develop as a songwriter, whereas all those years previous, it was more just about my guitar playing. So I kind of took on a second skill at that point. And, that band just ran out of gas, fellas. There were so many changes at our record company. There were changes in rock music. We just didn't really have a home anymore at radio. There just wasn't a place for the kind of, because we were just a straight ahead, kind of like a classic rock band for the most part, So, yeah, man, Brother Kane, I keep in touch with all those guys. I love them like family. And, we really went through a unique experience together. We felt like we kind of got shot out of a cannon and, it had great highs and really deep lows. And, I'm just proud that everybody survived it and came out the other side.
So what, I don't want to get too technical, but again, we could do a 3-hour podcast because Bubba and I have such great interest in music and know you, but can I just ask, and you can answer this quickly, and then I'm going to ask you a question about some Rick and Bubba history, and you can tell me if I can say it or not. But anyway, because I don't know if I can. But anyway, and you can just say no. But anyway, so the Brother Kane catalog, where is it now? Can you still get it on all the streaming stuff?
Yeah.
You still get a monthly check from that?
Yeah.
That's what Rick's asking.
Yeah, so if you're a songwriter, I know that. Did y'all have the publishing rights to all that?
Well, yeah, I mean, as songwriters, everybody, participated in that if they were a writer or co-writer on the song. I mean, obviously, Brother Kane is not a staple on radio anymore.
Right.
But
except here on our show.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the time.
Bless your heart, Bubba. But, like every other band, man, our music now, for all of us, we live on the streaming sites. And
yeah.
Look, I'm a fan of streaming. We can sit here and argue about how little money it generates for the artist, et cetera, et cetera.
And it does make it tough there. We talk about that on the show all the time. You got to get on the road now. It used to be you went on the road to get people to buy the record because that's where your money was coming. Now you put out a record so people will go see you on the road.
100%, guys. And that's another reason why coming out of the pandemic, we're all just so ready to find a way to safely perform, keep our touring party safe, keep our fans safe. And so far, man, things are moving in a good direction with that. But Yeah, man. All 3 Brother Kane albums are on every streaming site: Spotify,
Okay,
Apple
it's all
Music,
there.
Rhapsody, on and on.
Damon, let me ask before you move off of that, because we've had this discussion before, and Rick and I have kind of wrestled with this just in our conversations. What streaming to me is a delivery system. Okay, it's we went from physically buying a record to, hey, it just appears on my audio device. Why is it that the financial part of that changed so much? Why don't the songwriters and performers make the kind of money they used to make from record sales as they used to? How did that change? Can you break that apart for us a little bit?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, Bubba, they're still making money. You know, if you have a hit in the new business model that 2021 is, that means you're getting millions of streams. You're still having that song played on the radio. It's showing up in some film and television sync, spots.
Right.
You can still do really well with it. The bigger truth that a lot of people in my genre don't like to talk about is rock and roll just is not the cultural influence that it used to be. And it's probably never going to be again in our lifetime. So, there's not a Rock 99 in Birmingham anymore that's playing the new record by Candlebox or the new music from Kenny Wayne Shepherd or Brother Kane or whoever. Those stations don't exist anymore. Those outlets don't exist. The key for a guy like me as an independent artist now, guys, is content. If you go, my new record is with my band. I gave my band a name, by the way, the Get Ready, Damon Johnson and the Get Ready.
I love that.
Thank you, man. So that's a separate profile on all the streaming sites. But if you just go to Damon Johnson, you'll see, guys, I've got like 6 albums I've put out, 7 albums. Well, over time, as my fans, revisit those records and, turn their friends onto it, or I make new fans. Hey, who is this guy filling in for Gary Rosington? Oh, Damon Johnson. Let me go check out his music. Anything you can do to stay active is just going to bring more attention to your music, more ears to it on the streaming sites. It just is what it is. And I don't feel slighted. I haven't invested the time to really complain about it like a lot of other musicians have. And it's just the changing times, fellas.
And you have to adapt. You have to adapt to it.
Yeah, it's just
David,
like when people
you realize you're on a podcast right now. We know about adapting.
Yeah.
We're doing a podcast right now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Hey, man, it's
adapt
like
or perish.
It's back in the early 20th century, man, when people used to warm their homes with whale blubber, and then somebody invented kerosene. Mm-hmm. Dude, the whale blubber guys were out of business.
Like horseshoeing.
Well, I remember Bubba made the statement, when we first got into syndication, and of course that's different now. You really can be if you have content, it can go anywhere. But in the terrestrial world, syndication involves satellites and being on multiple stations, and we're still doing that. But I remember the statement that Bubba made, and he was 100% right, and you just said it. We better get in the syndication business, or we're going to get replaced by it.
That's right.
So you have to adapt to what your industry is now doing.
That was one of my better quotes.
It was a good one. It was a great one. I probably cleaned it up, and not cleaned up like language, but I probably organized it a little straightforward.
Yeah, I probably stumbled through it and
really good.
Couldn't
That's
spit
really
syndication out or something like that. But Damon, let me ask you, just as a model, just so people can understand it, and I'm a non-musical person, so you have to put it just really simple terms. And we're not asking to get into your business on this, but let's say that let's say Rick Burgess puts out a #1 hit on the radio. What is that worth to Rick Burgess nowadays? What will he make off that?
Oh, he'll make a lot of money. Listen, man, if you have a #1 hit at pop radio,
that's the key, though. That's the key, pop radio.
But what are we talking? Damon, give me a real number on that. What does that look like?
Well, what that looks like is that song is getting tens, maybe hundreds of millions of streams on Spotify and Apple Music. It's getting millions of views on YouTube. It is getting radio airplay. Listen, man, if I miss anything from back in the day, guys, I miss that radio airplay.
Right.
That's, when Fools Shine On, and I Lie in the Bed I Make were hits on the radio, man, that was pretty good mailbox money right there.
Well, so what is a number? Give me the mail. Like, is that $1 million, Damon?
So
a number one hit. Rick has one number one hit, and it goes to the charts, and it's number one for 4 weeks. And Casey Kasem talked about it, or whoever's doing his show now. The modern version of that. What is that worth?
So number one, if I just performed it, that's one figure. If I wrote it and performed it, that's a different figure.
Correct. Yeah, if you were number one at pop radio back then and you had like a co-publishing deal, you could still make $1 million easy on that song. Again, because it's on hundreds of stations,
right.
It's getting played 40 times a week on each of those stations.
So now modern day, same scenario, modern day, I'm streaming, does not count that I'm on the road, just what I would make from streaming and radio play.
I believe that it's a similar dollar figure at pop radio. Again, there's no rock platform anymore.
Understood.
There's so few rock and roll stations that, the Foo Fighters have hits there, Shinedown. I don't even know who's on rock radio anymore, guys. I don't really listen to it, but I just know some of those bands do really well, but they have that infrastructure underneath. They got a big label working it at the, they're working it on Facebook and working it on Instagram. That requires a team, a lot of investment.
You don't make as much like you did with a record sale or a CD per item, but you have the ability to have so many more items. There's a lot more downloads than there were record sales. You don't get as much money per download, but if you get enough of them, you can still get back to that same figure. Is that accurate?
You can still do pretty close to it, guys. Like you said earlier, Rick, the key now is going on the road. Listen, my 13-year-old daughter, Jolene, is the single biggest Harry Styles fan on the planet.
Right.
Dude, Harry Styles is hauling money around in wheelbarrows because he's a solo artist. He sells out everywhere he plays. He sells out every stitch of merch that's hanging up at the merch table. Yeah. If you're a young pop artist and doing okay now in 2021, you're killing it. You're killing it.
We'll come back more with Damon Johnson when Rick and Bubba University, the podcast, continues. All right, so let's talk a little bit. We just talked about streaming. One thing that we know is that your activity online, unless you're protected, is being monitored. It is being monetized. But you can go back to being invisible online with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN will keep you from being tracked because let's face it, whatever you're doing online, whatever you're buying, you're liking, that's your own business. And you know what? Even CNET and The Verge and other tech journals have rated ExpressVPN the #1 VPN in the world. And remember, ExpressVPN is always blazing fast. We can stream videos in HD quality without the buffering going on. That they're using a Lightway. It's a new VPN protocol that they engineered to make the using speeds faster than ever. This is so much superior to the other VPNs of the past. So protect yourself with the VPN that we love here at Rick and Bubba University. ExpressVPN.com/Rick Bubba. Go today, get an extra 3 months for free on a 1-year package. That's ExpressVPN.com/Rick Bubba. ExpressVPN.com/Rick Bubba to learn more. Damon Johnson is our guest on Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. Damon, this is the last thing I'm going to ask you about Rick and Bubba history. Then we're going to get into the new project that you got going now. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say it because I don't know the state of the Brother Kane deal. But you do know that there's a little-known Rick and Bubba fact about the debut and one and only CD from the world's greatest garage band, Mr. Lucky, called Fat Chance.
That's right.
9 original songs. The people who have that CD may not know the Brother Kane connection. And at the time, I could not say it because you guys were under contract and all this. But do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he knows. He's laughing.
Yeah, can I say it? Can I talk about that or no?
I think you have full clearance, Rick Burgess, to reveal these secrets. Like there's been a statute of limitations now. I think we're
at the time.
We're safe.
At the time, Brother Kane was still happening, so we couldn't talk about it. But everybody every now and then there's a little side gig that'll show up, and we were putting together a CD of original songs that really were original songs that came from bands that Ryan Greenwood and I played in. Later on there were some songs that were actually written by the guys in Mr. Lucky, but we didn't have a band. It was just Ryan and me, and we were going to form a band and go back and get Greg and some of the guys that had played with us before. So we needed a drummer and a bass player for the actual recording, and the keyboard player. So Mark Phillips played keyboards. He would go on to be in Mr. Lucky. Ryan Greenwood played guitar, and then we had the two other guys. We had your drummer and your bass player playing drums and bass. So if you have the Fat Chance CD, that is the bass player and the drummer from Brother Kane that are playing on the studio sessions.
The Brother Kane rhythm section, rocking those songs from Mr. Lucky. I remember it. I remember it well. And I'm not going to deny, guys, I had a little bit of jealousy, but y'all didn't ask me. You didn't ask me to participate.
Didn't you join us live at one of the Fat Fest and play one of the parts?
Did.
Yeah, you came out and played Rebel with a Cause. And,
That's right.
Yeah, and we rocked that, and then we did.
That was a good, simple, easy to follow song.
Yeah, sorry, you. I don't know if you remember. You called me back. You're like, can you send me something a little less complicated than this? You could tell a guitar player had written that song. I didn't write that one. You know what I mean? And anyway, but then we did "Got No Shame" also. We did a Mr. Lucky song, and then we did a Brother Kane song.
Guys, I'm so indebted to you. Your enthusiasm for that song specifically has been unwavering from the first day you ever heard it. And
let me tell you something. I'm not just because you're here. Greg Burgess would say, and Greg's critical of everything.
Yeah,
let me just tell you this. In the genre of which is my favorite type of music, Brother Kane, that style is probably my favorite style of music. Whatever it's called, I just call it great music. But Got No Shame is as good as any rock song there has ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope you realize that. I hope you realize that. I mean, you did some other stuff and they were good, but I mean, that's
fellas,
special.
I'm really proud of it. That song in particular, like I said earlier, it's really opened a lot of these doors, man. Listen, Ricky Medlock is a fan of Brother Kane. Ted Nugent was a fan of Brother Kane. Alice Cooper was familiar. He had heard the songs on the radio in Phoenix. He goes, "Oh, I didn't know the name of the band, but I know those songs for sure because I heard them all the time." So, man, we really kind of caught some lightning there for a minute. Credit to my co-writing partner, Marty Fredrickson. I met Marty right at the beginning of Brother Kane. He's a, Los Angeles songwriter. He lives here in Nashville as well now, but, man, he talk about somebody that changed my life. Maybe those songs would have never existed if it weren't for Marty.
Well, the whole catalog's good, but that's a special song. And I know I don't want to, I want to get to what you're doing now, but I will tell you, for guys on the show here, I know this is a little different, different avenue you took music wise, but I'm telling you, Whiskey Falls.
Yeah, Rick, you stole. I was going to ask
Whiskey Falls was fantastic.
Damon, if I had been a betting man, and we've heard a lot of music over the years, and Rick obviously is much more into the musical part of it than I am. But I would have been all in that Whiskey Falls is going to be the biggest thing you ever did, and it was going to catch lightning again.
Bubba, I was a betting man. I did bet on, I left a Cush gig with Alice Cooper.
Oh, that's right. You did.
To get in a van with those guys because I knew the songs were there and I knew the sound was there. Yeah, man. Whiskey Falls was a great band. And
the harmonies, the songs were all great songs.
The lyrics were great.
I never will forget, though. You may not remember this. You and I had a phone call about it. You're like, "I got a new thing." I'm like, "Okay," and it's like you didn't want to tell me. You were like, you were like, and I was like, "Okay," and just stay with me. You know what I mean? And you were like, "We think we're going to get played on country radio," and I said, "Is this Damon? Hello, Damon. Is this Damon?" Country radio.
I think I'm losing the connection. What?
Right. Wait, do your friends know about this? But no, it wasn't. Look, country music's great. It's phenomenal. This felt more like the Eagles to me, which would be called country today. If they put out their first couple albums now, we would call that country. But the harmonies, the original songs, what happened? Because it felt like it was taking off, and then it just kind of went away.
Yeah, man, it was starting to happen. That was 2007. If you guys remember, the housing market took a big hit in the fall of '07. So we were signed to a little independent label here in Nashville, Midas Records. The guys that own the record label, all their investment capital was in real estate.
Oh.
So those guys get a phone call from their accountant, fellas, we're going to have to circle the wagons and batten down the hatches. First thing they did was clip that record company. And, you know, at that moment, all the labels in Nashville were really kind of tightening their purses, like, well, we got to ride out this recession. And, you know, we don't know what's going to happen. The band just wasn't able to get another deal. And I got a phone call from Alice Cooper again in early 2009. He said, hey, man, I need a guitar player again. Can you recommend somebody? I said, yes, I can.
I'm back.
I got you, man.
Is my makeup kit still back there? I'm ready.
Hey, Rick, I want to tell you and Bubba this too, man, to your enthusiasm about Got No Shame. This new record, Damon Johnson and the Get Ready, Battle Lessons, in my humble opinion, is loaded.
Easy now.
No,
listen. You better make sure you're sitting down, Bubba. This record is loaded with that Got No Shame energy, that level of guitar riffs, that level of excitement and celebration. I said in a lot of interviews this year, guys, that, you know, Battle Lessons is the record that 19-year-old Damon Johnson dreamed of making. You know, the same kid that was listening to Aerosmith and, you know, Bad Company and, you know, Van Halen, AC/DC, just big rock, man, big rock.
All right.
I promise you, if you listen to that record, you'll go.
We've seen the video this morning, as a matter of fact.
We've listened to two of the songs.
And that's what I told Rick when I heard it.
When we come back, we'll talk more about that in our final segment here with Damon Johnson on Rick and Bubba University, the podcast. All right, so look, Damon Johnson has to go on the road a lot. We know what it's like to be out there, and let's be honest, men at one time, when we were given our underwear, our first, you know, drawer full of adult underwear, meaning we're grown up now. This is the underwear we take with us. We all believed that underwear was to last us the rest of our lives.
Yeah, I thought it would.
Yeah, we would. But see,
at least 10 years.
And we just thought to ourselves, I'll take a pack of the tidy whities and I'm good.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. Tommy John,
like 50 in the pack, Rick.
But that's over.
Yeah.
When you put on Tommy John, the Apollo men's underwear, it keeps you dry with this heat that we still have. Up to 7 degrees cooler than any regular cotton underwear. Those tidy whities, these are even cooler.
Yeah.
And I love when Tommy John says, we do not have customers, we have fanatics. And this Apollo underwear for men, it is soft, supportive, it stretches for the perfect fit every day. And I know what a lot of the guys that listen to us right now are wanting to know. Yes, it comes up to 4X, up to 4XL, okay? There's been over 15 million pairs of this sold to men across America, and we are loving it. You will love it. Tommy John's new Apollo men's underwear is kind of some high-end underwear for your rear end. Okay, let's just talk about it. You can't get it anywhere else. So you're going to love these guys immediately. 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Rick Bubba. TommyJohn.com/Rick Bubba for 20% off. See the site for all the details. Damon Johnson, our guest, he has played with everyone in the latest project from Damon Johnson we talked about. Battle Lessons is the album, and you can get tour dates. So you're going to do some stuff with Damon Johnson and the Get Ready as well. You guys are doing dates along with the other stuff you're doing. But the album, you can go to DamonJohnson.com, and you said this album, you've done so many different things. I'm hearing you say that this new project is almost like you going back to the roots of the kind of music that you grew up on, and really probably the kind of music that you probably prefer. I mean, if you were going to have your own album, this is what it would be like.
Yeah, that's a straight accurate description, Rick. You know, the thing I do to try to stay healthy is I go for lots of walks. I run a little bit, but I try to take care of my knees, so I walk a ton, put on my headphones, and I just listen to music that makes me happy. So over the previous couple of years, man, I was going back and revisiting all those albums from my youth, you know, Rush, the first Boston record, Humble Pie, Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, lots of AC/DC and Van Halen. And it started to kind of pepper my creativity. And I would come in here to my office, this room I'm in right now, and I'd just pick up the guitar and whatever riff just fell out, I'd sit down and force myself to finish it. Like, let's write a song around this riff. And in a few weeks, man, I had 8 or 10 songs. I was like, oh, this is going to be fantastic, So the other thing that's important to know, fellas, is that one of my dearest friends here in Nashville is Grammy-winning world-class rock producer, Nick Raskulinecz. Nick is, we've done 3 records together. We did a couple of those Black Star Riders records together. But, I knew to get him involved, the songs were going to have to be there. So it was a really big day when I went to his office. I said, hey, man, give me 15 minutes. Let me play you some stuff. He immediately got excited, and he said, hey, brother, you have been very busy. Let's figure out a way to pull this off. So he had to work me in the schedule between literally producing Alice in Chains and the new Hailstorm record. So I'm honored, man. I'm just thrilled to have him in my orbit, and he did a great job. My band knocked it out of the park. It's a great record. I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, we love the 2 cuts we've heard now. This name that you mentioned, this songwriter and producer, a lot of people probably heard that name when he produced Bubba's funk album with his band Chocolate Ripple. And you
in the digital basement.
Damon, you all right? Be careful.
Rick, you can't do that when I'm taking a sip of coffee, dude. Come on, bro.
He probably mentioned that during y'all sessions.
Damon, you
Chocolate Ripple.
We don't want to. We don't want to get anybody in trouble, but with all these great musicians you've met, legendary people,
yeah,
is there one? You've already talked about how surreal all of it has been, but was there one that sticks out in your mind when you first met them that you almost just couldn't talk to them? You just buckled under the excitement.
Yes. It all happened in one night in Las Vegas, fellas. I can't remember the last time I was on your show. I don't know if we ever even talked about this. The night that I played in Las Vegas in a band with Steven Tyler, Jeff Beck, and Sting.
What?
All together.
That's the band?
Yes, sir. Listen, if Speedy can hear me off air right now, tell him to look it up on YouTube. There's video proof that what I'm telling you happens. Yeah, Bubba. So Marty Fredrickson, my songwriting partner for Brother Kane, he wrote a bunch of songs with Steven and the Aerosmith guys. He calls, Damon, will you come to Las Vegas and play guitar with me and Steven? He's going to do this iHeartRadio thing. I was like, oh my God, yes. I said, thank you, brother. Yeah, man. He says, well, are you okay playing rhythm guitar? I said, no problem. Whatever you guys need. I said, who's playing lead? He goes, Jeff Beck. I fell out of my chair. And he goes, wait a minute, there's more. He goes, we're going to have a special guest bass player on one song. I said, who? John Paul Jones? He goes, better. I said, Geddy Lee. He goes, better. He goes, we're going to have Sting play bass on Sweet Emotion.
So, no way.
To your question, Bubba, when I walked into that room carrying my Les Paul guitar case, and there's Steven Tyler, there's Jeff Beck, and there's Sting, I had to take a minute. I had to take a minute and settle down and pull it together.
I would have had to have said, now, guys, let's get this out of the way right now. Don't let me intimidate y'all. We're all just guys here, man. We're all just guys.
Well, hey, man, you know me, fellas. I'm a boy from the South, just like the two of you. My folks brought me up to be social and be, comfortable and, meeting new people. My favorite story from that day is I went over to Jeff Beck. We were going to do Sweet Emotion, and it has a talk box on it that Joe Perry played on the original record.
Sure.
So I go walking up to Jeff. I said, hey, Jeff, would you have any interest maybe in playing that talk box part? that starts the song? Because I know you played a talk box, back on those records of yours. And he just kind of goes, yeah, I've got no problem doing that. Great. I said, awesome. So I go back to my microphone with my guitar, and Jeff Beck's guitar tech comes walking up to me. He goes, Damon, did you just ask Jeff to play the talk box? And I went, yes, I did. He goes, did he say yes? I said, yes, he did. He goes, dude, he has not played a talk box on stage since 1974. He goes, I've always been too scared to ask him. He goes, good on you. So if you look on that video on YouTube of us playing Sweet Emotion, Jeff Beck on the talk box, thanks to your boy. I'm proud of that.
Geraldine, Alabama made it happen. Damon, thanks for being with us. Again, everything you want to find out, go to DamonJohnson.com. Damon Johnson's footprint in music is everywhere. Go enjoy it, especially the new project, Battle Lessons from Damon Johnson and the Get Ready.
Man, we love you. We're glad everything is still going good for you. Come see us if you're in the neighborhood.
Guys, I will. I love you too. My best to your families. I miss you. Thank you so much. Continued success. I can't believe this went by so fast. Like we just started.
Well, we'll do it again, and we'll have you back on the big show too. We'll have a little jam session or something.
I would love to, man. Love you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Love you too. Damon Johnson, our guest this week on Rick and Bubba University, the podcast.